Hello there, it's Robert Black again. This video is a supplement to the one that I released a few weeks ago, and it's in response to some questions that arose out of what I said there. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out first. My overall conclusion there was to support FamilyTreeDNA. One of the main reasons it seemed to me to be more careful came out of my use of a tool on gedmatch.com called 1-to-1 compare. I took my 3 sets of raw autosomal data from AncestryDNA, from FamilyTreeDNA, from 23andMe, and compared them against each other. They were presumably generated in the same way, on the same type of machine, using the same type of chip, to determine the number of genetic repeats at each test site. Yet using the 1-to-1 compare tool, I discovered that FamilyTreeDNA had fewer than 0.8% no-call results, meaning that numbers could not or would not be read from the chip for whatever reason, whereas 23andMe had 2% and AncestryDNA had 4%. These differences seemed to me to be a measurable form of human error, perhaps company protocol or lab technician skill. I know that FamilyTreeDNA is the oldest of these companies. Perhaps that's why they're more accurate. I raised the anomaly of their results with Ancestry and got a quick promise to, quote, raise it with the technical side, unquote, but more than a month later I've heard nothing. This isn't the only reason I lean towards FamilyTreeDNA. I am impressed by the fact that they're the oldest and most experienced company, and by the fact that their founder, Bennett Greenspan, is as true and keen a genealogist as most of us are. But I find it interesting that none of the other companies even tries to approach the Y chromosome projects that FamilyTreeDNA has developed out of nothing. That company is basically the only place to turn if the brick walls that most interest you are on your male line ancestry. FamilyTreeDNA's problem, if I might call it that, is apparent fatigue. The first generation of volunteer project coordinators have passed to their reward, or they're getting long in the tooth. And there's a certain lagging of enthusiasm as it becomes clear how slowly these databases are growing in order to be readily useful to many of us right away. This apparent fatigue, I think, is seen most prominently in the graphics they use to present the results. They're old-fashioned, and the colors are dreary, and I would respectfully propose that they spend some money there and predict that it will pay for itself with increased sales. Now, when your admixture results are compared, as I showed on the previous video, it becomes clear that each company uses a different algorithm to interpret what they have found. Ancestry has 3 different ways right on their results website of how your results can be presented. And the most conservative one compares most directly, I think, with FamilyTreeDNA's results. This is good for genealogists because it seems to contain these results within the last 300 or 400 years, so-called genealogical time, unless your tree takes you to China or India or Iceland. Nonetheless, we have to admit that it's that exotic stuff that DNA testing discovers that everyone finds the most interesting and fun. So these conservative algorithms aside, what makes the topic so interesting is the fact that everybody right now and here is at the cutting edge of this science. Things are developing constantly. Each company has something different to offer, and each can be a worthy partner in our research. If you're not especially interested in the nitty-gritty of genealogy, 23andMe will give you the broad perspective on your ancestral heritage. That kind of perspective is going to help us all, I think, develop a kind of global perspective, that there's no such thing as race or pure race, just different shades of skin tone and different accents. Underneath human variety is an overwhelming unity. As I said in the other video, AncestryDNA is the strength of the Ancestry group of companies. Its organization, its energy, its commitment, its drive. They are constantly working to improve their interpretive algorithms. And their firm commitment to linking up the paper trail with the genetic one, I think, serves everybody very well. Now that said, I love the fact that FamilyTreeDNA has a big database that they've built up by sheer effort over time. AncestryDNA's database numbers would seem to be inflated by the research database they purchased from the Sorensen Foundation for Molecular Genealogy. That's a good database, good for the long term, but right now most of us using these services have trees originating in Europe and transplanted to North America, and FamilyTreeDNA is very strong in data relevant to that research interest. I hope this supplement has been helpful for those of you who have approached me for further details, and whatever company you choose, I predict that you'll have fun with the results. And if you use the free websites I suggested in the other video, or discover more with a simple internet search, you can extend your play as you grow in knowledge about this fascinating field of DNA for genealogy. So enough from me, and over to you, and all the best with your research.